just say hello in your language or dialect. So I will start from myself. Nerijus, labas.
Hans, goedemiddag.
Labs.
Tato kamarjuma.
Snež. Ciao.
Moikka vaan kaikille.
Moi, mijn naam is Sandra.
Zoran, welk pozdrav.
Hi, ik ben Jamie.
André, goedemiddag allemaal.
Hey, ciao, sono Giulia.
Hola, salut.
Grüßt euch, ich bin Johannes.
Zdravo, Ivana.
Sonia. How do everyone?
Already.
Well, what we have to do now is like a foot bump. Go,
Morjesta vaan kaikille. Mun nimi on Antti.
Oikein mukavaa päivää kaikille.
Hola, soy Katia.
Lava.
Hey, Castro.
Cara.
Hey, Jan. Calle, saludi.
I can say Martinas. Sveiks no ryto.
I hope everyone could have a hello, welcome. And the idea of this session will be to go through some good practices of developing cities of learning. The way I structured, I would like to share a little bit what I have collected from developments, plus share a little bit our practices, and then invite you to break up rooms to share a bit, discuss the introduction part, and then invite to come back with some insights, questions, and more sharing. So that would be the structure. I will start from a global overview of what was happening since 2011, from the moment when we got to get to know Open Badges. And Open Badges, you will hear quite a lot working on cities of learning, because it's one of the tools and technologies we use to assess, self-assess, validate, recognize learning. And I tried to collect major developments which led where we are now, including us doing something, but also a bigger picture. So in 2011, Mozilla introduced Open Badges technology, which was an open source code. And the idea was to recognize any learning anywhere. And the promise was that this technology will enable any organization, institution, business company, organization, or even people to use it to capture learning and package into a digital badge. Since then, many things happened. One of the milestones 2013 was Chicago launched Summer of Learning, because they had a major strike which shut down schools in a city for a while. And then many organizations pulled together their resources, opened up, and organize themselves into a Summer of Learning. So any young person could sign up for open workshops, and municipality was contributing to opening up such activities, and they could collect badges throughout the city, and it was focused on STEM badges. In parallel, UNESCO Learning Cities was launched as a network, which is having own development actually. It's not so much linked to open badges or what we understand by cities of learning, but in a conceptual point of view, they're very close to what an ideal city of learning could be. They are promoting open, inclusive, and accessible learning to all, and they extend through a generation, through from childhood to adults, and so even the elder people can join in the activities, and we promote lifelong learning. In parallel, we started the first project, Unique Learning Badges, and some of the partners are here. I think Blackpool, Ljubljana, Kazaya, you were involved in this project together with us, developing first solutions for digital badges. To continue, Chicago Summer of Learning transformed into Chicago City of Learning. They asked themselves why not to have the entire year open for learning in a city. And that was one of the examples we followed very much. We had connections with them. We worked a lot on bringing them on webinar once we had the training for our staff. And they inspired other cities in US. And from 2015, a new platform was born, a network which is called LRNG, Cities of Learning. We started from 4 cities as a platform, and then continued gathering more cities across US. And in our case, for 2015, we focused on building trust in badge systems. After working for a while with badges, we realized that we need to invest into understanding how other organizations perceive and can value badges. And here we partnered with some representatives of employers, businesses, entrepreneurs to see how badges can be valued in terms of external recognition. For us, that was quite interesting experience. We then, I think, onboarded also our partners from Germany, I think from Netherlands. Sandra, you joined as well with your organization and team. So that was quite an interesting project helping us to develop further on. And as a result, we created a badge app called Badge Wallet, which was also used till now, actually. To continue, at some point, Mozilla was handing over the developments of open badges to IMS Global, which is a global learning consortium combining different types of organizations from universities to platforms, educational platforms, technology development companies and organizations. So in 2017, it was the moment when IMS Global took over. And IMS Global is dedicated to make sure that technology which is developed, it could be used across platforms and systems. So they wanted to make sure that also open badges continue being used regardless of which platform people, organizations use or develop. So that was marking development. For us, 2018 was a continuation of work we did with badges. And then we decided, following the examples of cities of learning, that we want to actually expand the badging opportunities across cities and level up. And that's why we continued working in a long-term project called Connected Spaces of Learning, which actually ended this February with some of the results which now you can use and promote, which is platforms for cities of learning, methodologies, tools which we developed. In the same year, 2018, it was also time for RSA Cities of Learning to be born and actionable. It was mostly UK focused and based initiative. Until now it's in place and working. And one of the interesting development which I chose was LRNG platform merges with one of the universities. And that was interesting development, because the idea was that actually nowadays people develop and learn skills even before they actually apply or enter college or some degree they want to get. So how to recognize and value this. So that was interesting merge appeared. Of course, I didn't mention many other things which happened meanwhile, different platforms coming up, initiatives and so on. But I include these developments in references for this presentation, so you will be able to get them. I will go quickly through different examples and then see what I have collected, hoping this will be helpful. Chicago City of Learning, a couple of numbers. For them, turning point was 2015-16, then from rather small city initiative, they grew into huge numbers. And it was partially linked with good collaboration between organizers and host of the platform and school system, where they allowed to use the same login, but also they integrated access to their platform into schools, actually, school system. So then all the different activities became available quite instantly. For us, it was interesting to learn how they work. We had webinar with them, and recording is available on YouTube, so it's also included in the activities. It's also interesting the way they communicate how the city can benefit from having such opportunity, because we used a lot of data to map where opportunities exist and where the need is, and how to bridge this gap in a territory. So I think that would be the strongest point I can mention. To continue, in parallel, 2014, Pittsburgh City of Learning was also experimenting with a City of Learning concept. You see some data from their experimentation and work on the program. We had the pleasure to host one of the developers, leaders of this movement in Pittsburgh. We had Tim with us coming in Lithuania when we just started developing our cities of learning. We have again recording. It was a small, cozy workshop. He led and shared his ideas about how technology actually can enable learning and what are possible challenges and limitations. I would also like to stress that they worked quite well on defining competences and aligning the competences to some frameworks and using badges for that. And what is good is that people can access all the information about developments, and I included links again. So if you want to work on linking certain activities in the city to competence frameworks and using badges for that, they, I think, would be the example to follow. LRNG, for me personally, but also in our team, we felt that when LRNG launched, it was quite an interesting development, especially looking from the point of view of marketing and communication, because they were super youthful from very beginning, from the way the platform looks, the way everything is presented, language, videos, professional design and everything. So following some of the interviews they were published, it's interesting to see how they managed to really work well on this side. I think it was also the first one of the first platforms really introducing playlist as a concept, where you combine different activities together in a thematic learning pathway, ending with a badge. So that was really strong from their point of view. We also had a chance to connect with them once in Europe, in Italy, in one of the forums. And our question was, are you planning to move to Europe, offer the platform in many languages? And then the answer was they were quite busy in US, and that wasn't in their plans. And I think that was one of the moments when we asked, okay, if nobody plans to move to Europe, why don't we do something here? Cities of Learning RSA in UK. It was very interesting development, which started very similar time as we started in 2018, maybe a couple of months ahead of us. And I think their strongest point in my subjective view was strategic thinking before even starting the platform or pathways. They went through a change making theory and looked at what makes really sustainable complex changes. And we worked to develop a strategy for different cities adapted to identity of the city and opportunities. So that was most interesting. Plus, we also involved different stakeholders, learner groups to collect their needs and interest. So that's quite interesting development. At some point, I think the growth maybe wasn't so big due to some technical solution. Now I checked, they have 2 active cities plus a couple of cities working on that. So that's data which I could collect publicly. Again, certain data you see here, it's what I could get from big internet. Yeah. And one other interesting network, UNESCO Global Network of Learning Cities, which is interesting because we found it quite recently, in last year only, although we are existing since 2013. And we are big. Now I checked, it's more than 170 cities, which are learning cities, which meant that we needed to apply as a city with a city council behind, submitting their proposal and commitment to be a learning city with mayor signature. So it means it's some sort of commitment. For us, then we met many cities in the last conference in Colombia last autumn. It was really interesting to see representatives of municipalities sharing how they manage learning city, what are their priorities, infrastructure, activities, and impact. So it's interesting, and we have a couple of reports with good practices from their cities. So these are global developments which I want to include and mention. I think for us, it's a big inspiration, and also seeing and understanding that what we create, it's not so unique, but also it's a proof that it's also in the heads and action by other cities and places. So just to connect where possible, learn from each other, that's how we can grow. Us, we are at the moment with a functioning platform and a network of several cities. I will come to that in next. We finalized the main functionality of the platform only last autumn. So all three major parts, which would be map, interactive map, search, navigation through activities, was done the first. Then we added also badges to each activity. So any activity which is proposed on the platform always have a badge to be issued, earned, used. And then we finalized playlist functionality, which allows to combine several activities into thematic playlist and offer as a learning pathway. Last autumn, being in a global conference, we launched the global platform for cities of learning, where from our local partner platforms, activities come together. So it's possible to see what's going on in different parts of the world, we hope. And then we also integrated something what in Europe is available. It's a ESCO skills database, which allow to tie any activity to that skill database used across countries. Some of the stats, checking it from 15th of April, so many activities, people joining, organizers registered, and playlists created. You will later on hear about different stages of development and could guess where we are. We'll leave it for you to listen and judge in a way. Thanks to Agne and her skills of visualizing things, we'll have a couple of visuals. This visual is from product development stages and often used from the marketing point of view, but also bringing some new products innovation to the field where it's meant to be used. So we adopted this model, trying to think how we introduce such a thing as new concept city of learning and platform in our locations. So 4 stages, each of them have their own dynamics, and they have to have specific action and activities. So first stage, it's where you start. You want to bring this great thing you started to believe in, trust, and see use of to wider partners, network, general society or target groups. So of course, there will be quite specific activities you want to do to introduce concept, to raise awareness about it. Still, people are not sure if it's useful or not, because it's difficult to provide proof yet, at least in specific location. We can rely only on data which is available from other examples, which are not necessarily maybe easy to transfer to our realities. Growth stage is when people, organizations, stakeholders start seeing value and sense in what cities of learning can offer. And you can see growing collaboration. And that's a moment when maybe already the end target group start appearing on the platform more often in bigger numbers. Maturity is a stage where you can enjoy growth and position in a way, being a platform and initiative which is big with offers. You could think of Chicago having a turning point from having 6,000 activities to coming up to 26,000, and then growing the numbers of people joining the platform. And at some stage there will be decline of the cycle. And as you could saw from some of the examples, they operated for several years maybe, and then at some point we had a decline. So either they decided to stop and apply some exit strategy, or they found a way to restructure, renew, and continue. I try to put some subjective ideas, and some of them still need to be tested, because I think from our cities, we're not yet in maturity. And some were still growing, and maybe some are in development, and already some in decline, depending on where we are at the stage of cooperation and locally and internationally. So the first row, it's mostly about activities or major actions it's good to do with your team, I would say. From building your team, developing your team, supporting, and then maybe renewing your team or saying goodbye to your team if the decision is taken to close and continue. The second line is more about target groups. Initially, when development phase is happening, you need to research very well needs, carefully know and involve people who would be users, beneficiaries of the platform, but also cities of learning. Stage 2 could be a stage where you start involving more actively and ideally co-designing with learners, partners, and others. Maturity is when it's possible to get feedback and more data. We are sometimes faced with questions at the beginning of development stage. So how many people use it and so on. So it's really depending on how many data you have to provide. And stage 4 could be diversifying target groups, maybe having specific branches on the platform or for City of Learning to make sure that if one group stops using or loses interest or need, maybe there's another group or any other avenue to continue. The third line, middle one, it's about strategic thinking, strategic development. In development stage, it took us time to understand our focus. That's why we now ask every city to think what could be your focus to start with. You cannot focus on everything. There should be some prioritizing in a way. Developing strategy, it will take some time through action, through contributions. Building partnerships, strong ones, strategic partnerships, and hopefully systemic integration in one of the educational systems, youth work systems, employment systems, I know business systems. That would be maybe helping to ensure that it doesn't decline, but actually sustain. The other one is how do you deal with resources? In development stage, it will be a lot about mapping and prioritizing because it will be scarce. It's difficult to access big resources without a proof of success. So you will try to get some resources, some will be more accessible, some less. Hopefully in growth stage, it's possible already to start securing resources because if maturity will come, it will be much more to do with the platform and City of Learning. So you will need to have these resources. In maturity, when it seems everything is going well, maybe it's wise to start diversifying resources, maybe models for income, which would allow to sustain and build it as sustainable solution. And decline, that would be maybe a way to continue. And then the last line is about content. In development stage, you need to have content, and it's good to create content yourself. Don't wait for other organizations to jump if you don't use it. So use it for any activities you can, which makes sense, and create content, populate the platform with offers. Then growth stage would be looking for synergies. Can be that you start seeing as organization synergy with other projects you do. Let's say for me personally, I took the decision that from this year, anything I do, it should be linked somehow with Cities of Learning or go under the umbrella of Cities of Learning. That helps me to manage resources and also create synergies with different activities. In maturity stage, ensuring quality would be one of the important things. If you have many offers, how to make sure that they are quality enough. And when in decline, maybe it's wise to come back to expertise developed and promote it. So then the content becomes your expertise. That would be maybe something to go for. Again, these are just ideas, reflections, not evidence-based learning points. We have also more learning points to share, and this visual is available. That's coming from 5 cities working together on the last phase, where we were reflecting what did we learn from this process. So this could be, in general terms, maybe interesting to review. And we talk about cities at the moment. That's a visual where we are proud to share, and a couple of more being added as we speak. Minsk and Riga, City of Learning, and new developments may bring new cities to join, and also expanding a little bit target groups from only youth focused to adult learning. So this is what I plan to share with you. Up floor for any sharing insights, questions, to me, to each other, because here we are quite on equal basis.
For me, we were just sharing one of the closing things I was talking about when we were, particularly Snezana's example, was all about how getting young people involved at the very beginning and driving the project a little bit more. This seems to be really important for success rates.
From our group, basically, we recognize that we are all in the development stage, especially in Slovenia, and more about the stakeholder engagement in order to make it more successful also. That also ties up with Bas's question, stakeholder engagement.
Thank you, Henry.
All right. In our group, we spoke about the really understanding and being able to highlight the value of the badges to the young people who would be pursuing them, so they can understand, you know, what they stand to gain. So some young people may not really have access to like the digital devices, so they need that extra motivation to do that. So we had one of our participants share a YouTube resource where we could get success stories that we could use and we could watch. So it would be great if everyone else can also share maybe success stories that they have of young people who maybe got jobs or other opportunities from having the digital badges.
Thank you, Ore. I think Agnia could be also a reference person now producing quite some stories from young people, how they use and value badges and benefit.
Yes, you can also follow the hashtag badges for good, and most of the things will be posted there, and of course you can contact me and we can share more of the content with you as well.
The same hashtag works in all the different social medias we're using.
Yes. Of course, mainly now people are posting on Facebook, but all the communications also prepared for Twitter, Instagram as well, and LinkedIn. I mean, it's just the beginning. Don't expect 300 results yet, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I can give some feedback from, or some interesting point from our group. So one person said that that it is interesting because it gives opportunities to young people, and that they don't have to go specifically to a place, so that they can learn online and whenever they want, and that you can put a lot of gamification in the activities that you are creating, which makes learning fun. And another opportunity that it gives is that you can combine different types of learning with each other via using the platform. Interesting part in the new development that we are starting now with Youth Co-Design Cities of Learning is that young people really can start co-managing and start to support with development of learning opportunities for peers, etc. So those were, I think, the main parts. And the developer, we had the developer in our group said, start with creating a lot of activities on your City of Learning platform. From a developer perspective, that's very important.
Any other insights, questions, reactions from small discussion groups?
We were focusing on the question whether it would help to focus on one topic for starting through with a region or City of Learning, and came to the conclusion that based on experience, it's really worth, especially when we want to adding activities we can do ourselves, maybe for beginning a lot, but if we want to reach out to other organizations, then it's worth to address especially one topic arrangement area of organizations, and then for the first start, and then start off to reach out to others.
With remaining time, I want to quickly share a bit the same slides I was using, just to show where you can get really much more in terms of resources. So under each slides, you will see the comment for notes for speaker. And here you can see tons of different links about badges in different times. So that's something also I realized that by reading older articles, you understand how the thinking was back then. When, let's say, first badges appeared as proposal, they developed, matured, and became now much more wider known, but not enough yet to conquer the world in a way, or make the world benefit fully. So under specific cities of learning, I added what relates to that specific case. So you can also follow much more on different cities of learning. As much as I could collect from the experience. And lessons learned, I think it's also possible to approach different cities which are working together and learn from each other practices, mistakes and trials and so on. I think one thing what I learned for now is that innovating means not necessarily always success in all the activities you do, but learning, that's what you can really take. So that would be maybe my general message to all of you who are at different stages. And I still think personally, we are quite in development, maybe a bit growth for our cities of learning. I don't know if anyone wants to say some closing thoughts or thoughts for future.
I don't know if it's closing or thoughts for future, but it was, for me, I just wanted to share how it was enjoyable to see other faces as well. And it's actually a bit impressive and a bit overwhelming at the same time, I think. Also seeing where the faces come from and the experience and also the record of the project and so on. So it feels, I think it's a good way to spend the Friday morning. So thank you for organizing also this open part of our meeting today.
And I think for me, it's also under present circumstances, feeling a part of a digital family. Which is like most of us in many different digital families that we belong to at the moment. So good to see some familiar faces with everybody.
Very informative. Thanks, everyone. And also maybe just to find that balance while we're in the developing stage, the focus on the formal versus the non-formal learning in our cities.
I'm quite new in the Cities of Learning family, can we call that? I think it's nice to hear all the experience of all the from all the cities and the regions, and I think it's quite learningful to hear all these stories, and also I can learn a lot from all these things. So I think it's nice to have these kind of meetings with all these kind of regions and cities at the same time. I think it's quite useful for everyone. So thank you, everyone.
It's really great to have this visual of what is behind. I mean, we can see platforms growing, but not faces behind so much, because there's different projects, different connections, and it's nice to have this common network. I really enjoyed this and would like to continue from time to time also in that network to share experiences and have time for it. Yeah.
I wanted to say that it's kind of funny that Jamie started by saying I'm quite new in the project, because actually we're getting so much learning, good learning from people like her that has recently joined, but with probably levels of enthusiasm and creativity that we can only learn from.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for being. It was really great to bring people from different corners, I could say, of the world now, not only from Europe, to meet, to connect, and I'm looking forward for more opportunities to create such connections with the umbrella cities and regions of learning. So enjoy. We'll share the recording of this session with you, so you will be able to share with your partners maybe across your communication channels. Please do so and make others know about this initiative, and enjoy the rest of the day and weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.